right, congratulations everybody. We're here. We made it to C1X. Today we get to talk to the guys behind Discotech in the Pro Shop, Brad Everett, Andy Robertson, aka Robbo. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Very good. Thanks for having us. Yeah, good to be here.
Thanks for coming, dude. Dude, it was so fun. We went out to where the fabrication is happening, and we got to play Discotech because you unveiled it to the world at Kansas City Wide Open Block Party, and it is really fun.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun to play, and I'd love to hear you just kind of walk us through like what it is and kind of just like the basics of the goal that you have for it.
Yeah, so I thought of it probably over a decade ago when I was living in San Francisco, and it was just kind of like there's not an arcade game for disc golf. And myself, I like kind of analog arcade games like Pop-A-Shot or Skee Ball. And like even with modern technology, if you go to a bar or arcade, those games are always there. Yeah. And I think they're fun because you're throwing something, you're doing something. And so I just kind of had the idea that like, oh man, there's a way to do this, And part of it too is I'm lazy and I want my missed putts to come back to me. But so like actually like that night, 10 years ago, I got home and I, everyone says this, but I drew it on an envelope, just like in Sharpie of like an idea of what it would look like. And to be honest, it's really not that far off of it, but that was 10 years ago. And I just hadn't done anything with it, but the idea was always in my head and I would think about it a lot. And maybe it made doing it a little bit more streamlined because I had thought about it so long, just in my head, what would work, maybe what wouldn't work. And initially I wanted to call it frolf. That kind of got frowned upon by mostly disc golfers and my wife. But so I just had this idea for it, and it was actually last July, 4th of July weekend. It was interesting, I got onto Facebook Marketplace, and somebody, I like just looking at that regardless if I'm gonna buy anything. And I got onto Facebook Marketplace and somebody was selling like a unworking at home skee ball situation. And I was like, you know what, that might be like the bones for this thing, right? It was in Independence. Like every time I got on Facebook Marketplace, it's never near my house. But so I was like, okay, I borrowed a buddy's truck, drove to Independence. Like the guy only wanted like $30 for it. Coordinating with him the whole time I'm on my way. As I get there to pull up, somebody's got a trailer there already loading up that skee ball. And I'm like, man, what is going on here? Talked to the guy, showed him my displeasure. But I also realized in that moment that that wasn't even going to work for me. Like the dimensions were all off. Like it wasn't going to matter. But it kind of lit a fuse on me to be like, you know what? Just do it yourself. So once I returned my buddy's truck, I got home that day, and somebody had told me a while ago that like prototyping, like start with cardboard. It's cheap. It's bendable. So I got just a big piece of cardboard from like the last time we moved or whatever, and looked at the dimensions of a marksman basket. And then just drew them out on a piece of cardboard and kind of, because I already had an idea of what I wanted it to look like, the playfield that is. Anyways, I measured it all out and it all kind of like looked to make sense, and then got back on Facebook Marketplace and found whatever the premium marksman basket is, like the solid one. Found one of those online for a pretty good price, bought that, fitted it on the cardboard and was like, you know what, I'm getting wood. And so like that happened that weekend, and then I went to Home Depot. One of probably the first of like, 3,000 trips to Home Depot. But I bought wood and then I just started. And so it started from there, and then that started the build.
So what is Discotech as an arcade game? Like if people aren't familiar with arcade games, like what is the goal of the game? Like what are you trying to do?
So it really is kind of a cross between Pop-A-Shot and Skee Ball with Frisbees. You've got, I say analog. There's obviously...
I've played Skee Ball, of course, but what's
Pop-A-Shot's the basketball.
The basketball. Okay, gotcha.
Which actually was invented in Salina. I did a little research.
Okay.
So some guy was in a hospital bed.
That's in Kansas for those who know.
So it's pretty much a combo of those games where it's like a physical object that you are performing a skill to digitally get a score, That's pretty much the basis of it. It's kind of a big game for arcades because with a Frisbee game, you need enough distance to not have the total wobble to get it up to speed. But so it's just a 1 minute timed game. Like right now on the prototype I built, we're working on how many points can you score in 60 seconds. I've already got another game mode in mind, and I really think there's probably a lot of opportunities for different game modes to go forward. But so far right now, it's a 60 seconds
Yeah.
how many points can you score?
Yeah, with bonuses for getting in the different slots.
Yeah, and
all of them.
This all kind of came organically because I only added in that bonus feature, I don't know, 1 week before the wide open event.
Oh, wow.
And double points, I probably added so the last 10 seconds, all the total point values will double for those last 10 seconds. That probably got added in within the last month before the wide open. So it's an evolving process.
Yeah.
And there's more ideas than what you see now, but this was to get it out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you had it at Kansas Wide Open. It seemed to be quite a hit. There was a lot of we saw videos of Anthony Barela playing it and lots of other folks playing it, and I think just generally it's seemed to have a great start. So yeah.
Overwhelmed by the response.
Yeah.
I don't know if it could have gone any better, and I was pretty nervous. The game operates well in my basement, but and Robbo can speak to this too because he helped me a lot during the last, I'd say, 3 months on fine-tuning things. But I don't really know what it weighs, but I'm going to guess it's about 1,000 pounds. And so I did build it with casters so that you can move it. But I didn't realize that I was going to have to make it a 3-piece unit that goes together. So I had it as a 2-piece unit. And so we together had to do surgery and separate kind of the playfield from that first big trough.
And now it's a 3-piece.
Now it's a 3-piece suit.
Lives in a trailer and it's going to get on the Pro
Had to
Tour.
buy a trailer. But so I didn't know how that was all going to be able to separate. But anyways, we were able to separate it. But the idea from the beginning was make it ready for the wide open, right? So I had that deadline, and initially it felt like there was a lot of time. And when you get down to the last, it's okay, we got to get this, this, and this done to have it ready. But that being said, it worked flawlessly. It's a 60-second game. The wide open was a 4-hour block of time. We did 169 games in 4 hours. Jeez. So we really didn't have much downtime. And part of that downtime was me just talking to people and not having an organized line.
Yeah.
Because,
We need to get you mic'd up next time, I think, to corral the line and introduce the pros.
well, we might
as they
need little
roll through it.
ropes, to cord it off. Because what I actually was a cool byproduct is the crowd wanted to watch.
Yeah.
So they all kind of, my line was an amoeba. It wasn't really much of a line. But I was kind of running the numbers, I was maybe we could do 50 games an hour, which was a little lofty, but I actually do think in the future we could get there.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot to dive into. I mean, I'm naturally, being a kind of designer, product designer, I'm just naturally curious on just the process of making the thing. But I kind of wanted to stay in this topic, but are you engineers? Is this just mad hobby? Or I want to make this, so you just started YouTubing and researching and you became an engineer? What's the background here and even to be able to make something like this?
I'm not even a builder, man. And to be honest, Discotheque looks good on film. None of it's square. The left side is not measuring the same as the right side. It's a polished pig.
When you see
looks
the
really
white
good.
and the green paint from a distance,
Covers a
and
lot
you
of
get the
mistakes.
lights and the noises, you're not looking at the finer details of the prototype.
No,
We're excited about seeing it at every state fair, around the country. I think people realize that it's an energy attracting machine. And every TD is going to want one at their tournament, basically.
Hopefully at the
And
disc golf
if you live in the Midwest, you want one in your basement during the colder months.
It's got to be the block party winner.
Yeah, I kind of feel it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what people told me. I only stayed in my booth because it was busy, but it was cool too because, I didn't ask Barela to play it, but, obviously I know who he is, and I looked over and I just saw him kind of peering, looking at it, and I didn't go up to him for a minute, and then he kind of got a little closer, and I was like, "You want to play it?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's pretty stoic. And he was like, "Yeah, I think I'll play it." And I was like, "Well, you can play it whenever you want." And he was like, "I'm not cutting your line." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And I looked behind me, and the two guys behind me that were next in line, they're like, "Oh, he can cut us."
Yeah.
He still did.
Let
He
it
waited.
happen.
He waited. But what's funny too about him is he only played it once, and for him to come out the gate just firing those 500s, I've never seen anyone play it like that. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really know if it made you a better putter, but then when I see how much better Owen and Barela were at it, I was like, well, there's probably something to this.
Yeah. But you're not a builder, fine. Things aren't 90, fine. You came in later on, right, to help basically cut this thing apart.
Yeah.
But you still made this thing. I mean, there's sensors, there's lights. It keeps track of score. There's a monitor. There's the whole thing. And you're not an engineer and you're not a builder. So what kind of effort went into just making the thing?
Okay, so I mean, I did take woodworking in middle school, and I was a pretty good little woodworker. But like, I've thought about this so long. When I lived in California, there was no room to build it. I mean, I parked under a carport, and you're not building it there. And then moved back to Kansas City in 2018, I believe. The basement was big enough to do it, and I was like, okay, you know what? Let's just go. Let's just start. Like, not thinking about everything's going to happen. Let's just get started. And I had to go buy a circular saw. Like, I didn't even get the one with the battery, and like, I had to go buy the little multi-tool. It's limited tools, and I did all this with a circular saw, which is why nothing's probably actually square. But to your point, I mean, like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where if you have the idea, you kind of just force yourself to make it work. And like, you can always just put extra screws in. That thing's got so many screws in it. But so...
That's why it weighs so much.
Yeah, that's probably why it weighs so much.
Pounds of screws.
I'm still finding them in the basement. But so to answer that question, I knew what I wanted to do with the playfield, but that does not answer electronics.
Right.
And I definitely don't know electronics, right? But so here's what I was able to do initially. I was able to get, the basket mounted to wood the height of Discotech is the height of my ceiling in the basement. I actually do think the game should be slightly taller, but
Interesting.
I was capped at a 81-inch basement height. So I got it in with the slots, and I think initially all 4 slots were the same size as the 5s. And then the way that I actually even made the size of the slots is I stacked putters. So I believe the top slots, they're either like 4 or 5 putters stacked, and then the bottom slots are almost double that. And it's funny because online people have been like, the slots are the same size. I'm like, they're actually not. On camera, it may look that way. But so anyways, then I had the 4 slots. I had the basket in. The turf wasn't really a plan. It was one of those there were a ton of lucky accidents on the way. But I went into Home Depot, and I initially thought I was going to put like gym floor rubber matting just on the front because I wanted to kind of deaden the hit. And I didn't really achieve deadening the hit, but I found that lush fake grass. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. The grass is cool. So anyways, then I got that up. Okay, so now I have kind of something you can chuck a disc at, but there's no return mechanism or anything. And so my idea from the get-go was a treadmill to return the disc. And I mean, that is what I'm using. I'm using a treadmill motor. So
nice.
Facebook Marketplace is a recurring theme here. I got on Facebook Marketplace and...
It's a prototype.
Yeah, and treadmills...
Startup, the runway's only so long.
Exactly.
You're out there and trying to be efficient with your...
We're trying to be cheap too, because to be honest, people will just give away a treadmill.
Yeah.
If you have some kind of patience, right? So the idea, like even in my head back in the day, was like, well, 4 treadmills, I don't know how many, but like extend the belt, right? So anyways, I found a treadmill. I did not pay for it. It worked. My wife came with me. We've been collecting treadmills for a little bit. Got that treadmill home and then just started chopping it up with an angle grinder and kind of removing the pieces to what I needed. Like I'd never even taken one apart. I didn't really know how they were constructed. Learned a little bit on that. But so got the motor housing. They're called pulleys, or the big wheels that the front and the back of a treadmill are on. So I always just thought like, well, I'll just separate these to my distance. So anyways, that's what I did. And I got the treadmill in. One thing that was really interesting that was kind of a big challenge was, so I guess initially, naivety, I thought that I would just be able to connect, I don't know how many I thought, but multitude of treadmill belts to get to my length, because obviously I'm going to be way longer than a treadmill. So I came to realize that they're not stock. They're not all like each other. Some are a different width, some are a different texture of belt. Also, the belts are kind of stiff. Like, I don't really, when I say stitched together, I didn't really have a plan, right? So I get to this level and I'm like, okay, the belt's kind of the most important thing. And I'm like, okay, how am I actually going to put these together? And that's when me and my wife started collecting treadmills to get all these belts. And I kind of realized pretty soon that wasn't going to work. I needed like something different for the belt. So on one of my 1,000 trips to Home Depot, I went into like a rug section and they had this 2mm rubber, and I think it was like called a runner, like a rubber runner. And I saw that and I was like, oh, that'll work. It's cost effective. And I could buy it in a long roll. So Discotech, I believe the belt length is like 13 feet 6 inches, but I need double that because I need the bottom side too, right? So anyways, I was able to buy that in length. So I got that, and that was a big solution. But then it was interesting because how am I going to connect it, right? And so like my initial thought was grommets, like get the two ends, overlap them, and grommet them together. And you know, it might have worked, but I don't know how it would roll over the pulley.
Or like maybe catch stuff.
Yeah, it would be clunky, and it would look very homemade, you know. So I was trying to think of that, and my wife actually had a good idea because if you look at a treadmill on an actual treadmill belt, they have a diagonal seam that runs up.
Okay.
And the reason they've done diagonal is so that it can roll over that pulley without a big clunk, you know. And so the idea was we're going to cut it diagonal and we're going to use Flex Seal. The commercial Flex Seal, which I do think that stuff works pretty good. Yeah. And I actually do think it would have worked. And I swear, probably 30 minutes before my wife and I were getting ready to cut that belt and apply the Flex Seal tape, I got online and I just Googled like conveyor belt rubber Kansas City, just into a Google search. And there's this company on Paseo, like not far off I-70, called KC Rubber and Belting. And I was like, like no images. But I was like, you know what? Let me go there. I went there with my roll of rubber. And so like I pull in, I'm like, I don't even know if they accept civilians. I don't know the word.
Disc golfers.
Yeah, disc golfers. So I pull in and I just see these pallets with huge rolls of black rubber. I'm like, oh, this looks like it could be the place. And then like they have this, like it's an old building and they have this like little entrance and it said customers. And I was like, you know what? Let's see what happens. Yeah. So I walk in there with like this belt on my arm. And the first thing I saw was this like a salesman display of this company called Flexco, which they monopolize, they own the entire belt connecting company, whatever. They're the game, the name of the game. Yeah. And I saw that, and they had this thing called alligator lacing, which is I was pretty sure what I needed. And I saw it on a sample, and I was like, okay, this will be good. And nobody, probably took 5 minutes for someone to realize I was in there. And then I actually got to talk to the owner. He came up and helped me, and I was like, okay, this is weird, but this is what I'm trying to do. I was like, could you put alligator lacing on this belt so I could connect it? And here's the great thing about the alligator lacing. So it's kind of like a big zipper, and then a big cotter key, if you will, like a pin, runs through the zipper and connects both sides. And it's like, for them, it's natural. They sell these for other purposes. But for me, it was eureka. I was like, oh, I actually think this is going to work. And the great thing is I can take it on and off because this thing comes apart, right? Because the Flex Seal, I don't want to know. That would have been a mess. So anyways, I tell this guy, I was like, hey, could I do this? And he was like, yeah, I can sell you this. And like, actually, I can sell you this clamp if you have a vise, which at the time I didn't. But he was like, you know, you could do it at home. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, or you know what? Like we charge like, I don't know, 90 an hour labor. I think I could do it in 20 minutes. Like you want me just to do it? I was like, yes, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. So I go there the next day. He has done what he said he was going to do. It looks perfect. He's given me the cotter key. I go home. A couple buddies came over. We got the belt on, put together, and then turned it on with like the treadmill control pad. And that was the first time it fired up. And that was a eureka moment because I was like, this will work. Now I got to figure out the electronics.
Discs are coming back.
Yeah.
So now I have the functionality of the game with no scoring.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like now you can throw a Frisbee and if it lands in the perfect spot, it'll come back to you because it was just one rail, just a treadmill. It didn't have the ramps, you know.
Was it as wide as it is now or was it wider? Okay.
No, so the playfield was as wide, but the belt's only about 23 inches wide. And so it was just like a long little, like the end run, how it's skinnier than the rest, the whole thing was that skinny. And so if your disc didn't fall perfectly, a lot of discs on the floor. Yep. So even that day, we just like, and like I think I even sent you a video the first time it ran. We just put 2 plywood, just kind of lazily screwed them in. Yeah. And that would kind of collect the misses, which I was like, okay, I called it the trough or something. I was like, okay, well, you need to actually build it in. But you could kind of play it, but like you couldn't score it, you know, like there's no timer. But anyways, it was kind of the eureka moment. I was like, okay, I think I've almost proved the effectiveness of Frankensteining a treadmill.
Yeah.
And now we can go further. Am I talking too much? Should I keep going? Okay.
It's a podcast.
All right.
You're allowed to spin your wheels.
I mean, this is
the story of
this
this
is
guy.
most of the story. Yeah.
I'm loving it.
You know, it's going to be documented. This is when it's happening, and
Yeah, Yeah, so when that belt first came on, I just like screamed. I think my friends were like, and I was like, yes, me and my wife had an awkward kiss over the running belt. My buddies snickered at that. But so anyways, that was like a big moment. And it was just the turf with like kind of crude holes cut in for the slots. Like I didn't have frames. I didn't have the points up or whatever. And I was like, okay. And so I knew I couldn't do the electronics. Now, at this moment in time, I know how everything works on my game, and I know how all the components work, and I can replace them all, but I'm still not really an electronics guy. So I hired, or contracted, whatever you want to call it, out a person that is an arcade tech named Brian. I contracted him out to kind of bring my vision to life. And me and him worked together for months. I mean, he probably came over to my house like 5 or 6 times, and we started like building the components, and he didn't want him to just do it. He wanted me to learn how to do it. I still don't know a lot of it, but I know everything on my game, right? Like I can explain to you how my game works. I can fix it for the most part, I have backup parts for all of it. So anyways, we had the idea of getting that going, and we did get it to where on like just a little monitor screen, you could see the data, but it wasn't like a tabulating score. I mean, in theory, it was the language of that. It just wasn't for the end user yet. And then, ironically, Team Camo, there's a guy that's in Team Camo, Damien, that's like a computer whiz. And like, it's funny, people that have like computer jobs, like I never really know what they do, but I'm like, well, they're computer people,
Yeah.
What he was working in disc golf simulation.
Yeah, which he still is. But like, I knew he worked for a big company, but I didn't know exactly what he did, right? I just figured he was a coder or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I initially had a guy that was supposed to be able to, my point is my arcade guy didn't know how to take the data and turn it into graphical display.
Okay.
Right? So we needed someone else for that, which of course I don't know how to do. So I thought we had a guy, that didn't work out. Now kind of my deadline's feeling like it's creeping on me. And so I called the guy that I played disc golf with and I was like, hey, do you think you could do this? And he was like, yeah, I can do it. Like full confidence, like so confident that I'm like, oh, he could do it, Yeah. So anyways, then we started working together on what I needed. He was the one that incorporated, like I picked all the stuff, but he incorporated the sounds, the score, game modes. When I decided to put the bonus in, like he could just do it as an update. The graphics,
Were there any issues with like back to the detection of the discs flying through? Like that seems pretty like complicated, or like how do you make sure that you're capturing everything?
There's sensors. They're just photoelectronic sensors, which it's not like a spy movie where like there's a red beam, but in theory it kind of works similarly. Something breaks a light, like even on your garage door, it's got that little thing.
Yeah.
It's similar to that. So they're just photoelectronic sensors. I mean, there was some trial and error. I mean, that's where my arcade guy kind of came in handy, like having experience with that. And I always figured that would be the case, but it was nice to have a little bit of expertise. But I had to figure out where to put the sensors in the slots or the housings for the slots. And then the basket was a little tricky. Like how many does it take? How do they work? How do you debounce them so that one doesn't count for 6 different scores, So, but yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of trial and error, but to be honest, like most of that stuff kind of worked itself out, to be honest, smoother than I thought it would.
Yeah.
And there's still probably some improvements to be made today.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But to be honest, like,
prototype.
yeah, you guys saw it play, like, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's nice how like you might not be able to tell from like watching the video, but you don't get points if you just like hit the chains, which you might expect for like another type of arcade game, but it has to drop through the basket. So
it does.
has to be an actual like make. Yeah.
Well, and if you look at my basket, you'll see that the difference between my basket and a regular marksman is there's this metal band, like on my shirt, it would be like right here. And that is where it's like, that's the scoring housing of it.
Yeah.
Because when I chopped up my marksman basket, initially the basket was still connected to the center pole. And I ended up really just cutting all the supports away. So the cage is 100% separate from the chain assembly, right? So it's like it's not even a false bottom. There is no bottom.
Yeah.
So that everything can fall through.
Right.
So there was a little trial and error, but to be honest, like that actually worked out pretty good.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned Froth was like the original name for this thing. Why? You said little flack on there, people didn't love it, but then you landed on discotheque. How did you land on discotheque?
Okay, good question. I've always thought discotheque was a cool term. Like, you watch those old 70 movies or you listen to old songs, whatever, and they mention discotheque, like, as being the club.
Yeah.
Like the bar. I've always just thought that was a fun name. Like, oh,
Yeah.
we're going out to discotheque.
Oh, yeah.
In Australia, they probably still call it that.
Probably
maybe.
still doing it down under that way.
So I thought discotheque was cool. Frolf, really, my wife tonight mostly, and I think she was right. But so I had to think of something else, and I didn't want to rush to something. So I was just like kind of playing through things in my head. And discotheque came to me, and I was like, you know what I want to do? I want to kind of look up the origin of even this word, I guess etymology or whatever. So I looked it up, and it was interesting. I believe it's a Latin word, and it's disco actually related to a disc, almost like vinyl. And teca means collection. And if you think of biblioteca, it's like a collection of books. Enoteca is like a collection of wine. Discoteca, right? I also collect records.
Okay.
So I think I have like a 2,000 record collection. So for me, whether it makes sense or not for the game, it was a connection to me. And I was like, okay, I'll call it discotheque. And it's almost like Papa Shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, which I guess that's kind of copy. But I wanted disc in there. And at the time, I didn't even know about Tech Disc or that it was even like a Kansas City-based company. And sorry if you guys think
No,
I went on that. But so yeah, I was just like discotheque. And to be honest, like I'm pretty happy with it. Like I feel, you know, it kind of serves the purpose. It's somewhat easy to say. And it kind of, you feel like you've heard it before because you've probably heard the term discotheque.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just pretty,
works.
when I saw that it was related to vinyl, I was like, well, let's just do it.
Yeah.
You look in the back of the machine, then you'll get the tech aspect.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, there's definitely disc and there's definitely tech.
And that's obviously,
You're gonna have some fun.
yeah, that's kind of the main point, I guess, too. I was like, I mean, it's not really that complex with computer stuff. And I was like, well, you know, there's a technical aspect to it. So
Returning the discs is nice. You know?
Oh, for sure.
Having one's frisbee brought back to it after putting.
Yeah.
It's
especially when you miss a lot.
Yeah. Did you think of any alternatives to the treadmill, like a rolling slot or anything like that?
Yes, we did. So my wife's dad is a legendary farmer in Western Kansas. And it's funny because the farm equipment that they need out there, like hay balers, operate on belts, right? And so this guy's got his own fully operational with every tool you would need at wood shop. And there were so many times that I was in my basement was like, man, I would love to be building this in his wood shop. It'd all be square. But his wood shop's 5 hours away, right? But so I would call him kind of to pick his brain. And this was like in the early stages and before I figured out the treadmill or whatever. And he was talking about these hay balers that operate with belts. You know, give me ideas for that. Well, he had an idea there's these water basins that kind of look like a huge funnel. And he was kind of like, you remember when you'd go into like Wendy's or McDonald's back as a kid and they had the coin thing,
yeah.
right? And maybe this is still an idea, but he was like, what if you could get that disc to land upright on its finish and it could just roll back to you? I'm not an engineer, so I didn't really get that far. But so like that was kind of an idea. But the problem with the disc is it's not a ball.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like even a football would roll back on an incline,
Right.
and a frisbee won't, right? So I figured you had to go conveyor belt.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
I tried to think of an easier solution.
Okay, so you're getting all the tech part of it figured out. You got the graphics, the sounds. It's like Contra theme.
Yes, we are changing that.
Everybody enjoyed that, I think. But yeah,
it
probably,
helps with the
licensing.
association of a generation of disc golfers who grew up with that. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, 40-year-olds were big on it.
Yeah.
Well, I still think Contra's a top 3 game of all time. I love Contra. I guess apparently a lot of people commented at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think they kind of use some of the same music in both games because they're both from Kanamai.
It's definitely the same tones and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid playing like the 4-player at Chuck E. Cheese arcade, it was similar.
Yeah, I think they might even rip some of the exact same stuff. I haven't played Turtles in a while, but yeah, the Contra, like I think it was a good decision. It was always a placeholder, you know? And here's the thing about the wide open event. So I was racing to get my provisional patent filed before I could show this to the public. And we got the patent filed Friday night. The block party was Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah, our attorney was burning the midnight oil. He texted us at or emailed us at midnight on the Friday before the event. He was like, "You're filed."
Wow.
And so that is the same night that I posted into the Kansas City Disc Golf group because I'd been keeping it a secret, you know. And so I posted like, "Hey, come out and see my invention," and I posted a video of me playing it in my driveway. I had no intention of this being the video that went viral. And what's interesting, I'm not even gonna tell you I'm that good at discotheque, but I was trying to hit the bonus because it was brand new.
Yeah.
Right? So like I wasn't going for a high score, I was just trying to hit that bonus. And I'll say this, the internet comments are 95% positive, which is such a win. But like a bunch of people being like, "Oh, great idea, but why this guy?" or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, you know, whatever, I'll take it. I'm also not really a good putter, so.
But hair and makeup wasn't ready.
No, hair and makeup wasn't ready. And that's the one that actually ends up going viral. But so we got the patent in, got it all ready. You know, I'm obviously operating in contra music. You know, go to the event, Barela plays, my video starts to go viral, and I'm like, oh, every comment's about contra, which is great, but we're gonna need to change that.
Yeah.
So the next time I do an event, the music should be different.
Yeah.
It'll be in the 80s vein, though.
Yeah. Keep the vibe.
When did you get involved again with the whole discotheque?
After the belt started moving.
Yeah, when he needed a second set of hands to tighten up the belt, basically, and it became a two-man operation in terms of breaking the machine up and then being able to reassemble it in a live setting, basically. So I think it was March of
That's
this
about
year when obviously Kansas City Wide Open Block Party was on the agenda in April, and we're like, got to get this done, got to get it tested. There was a weekend of early testing out at the Camo Cup scheduled. So that was the first time that it left the house, basically.
We had to build the net.
Had to build a net for safety purposes as
was a whole
well,
weekend.
because the grip lock happens to the best of us.
People were like, "You don't need the
Especially
net."
newbies, you know, to the scene. So people who may not be familiar with, you know, grabbing on a judge and throwing it at like 80% and holding onto it for a little bit too long.
Too long.
And so the net needed to be built as well before the discotheque was released out into the wild. So
You've mentioned Camo Team a couple times. I think this is a good segue. I did want to bring it up because I don't think you remember, but I'm pretty sure we played together with our buddy Chris Colbertson, Colby. I was invited to come out to Camo Night one time out at Heritage, and huge group of guys, people, and it was fun. It was a fun night. But you guys it seemed like a very tight knit group. And you're skating Camo Team. Do you want to like elaborate a little bit on what Camo is?
So it's funny, actually. Our good friend Scott, and Scott is the graphic designer of all my logos and stuff.
Okay.
So like he did all that for me, and that's his profession. Scott, I believe, with Josh, started this league. I think this year was the 10th year anniversary.
10 years ago.
I haven't been in it that long because I wasn't living here. But so Scott started this group or whatever, and it's funny because I moved back here, and Scott and I had met before I moved to California, which was 2012. And Scott and I had played a few rounds at Centennial because I actually lived in an apartment that was Centennial was my front lawn. And Scott and I had just kind of linked up to play rounds together. We didn't know each other that well, but we become kind of friends, and I ended up moving right after that. So fast forward 8 years later, I moved back. I'm living by Rosedale, and I'm just playing like, I guess with Rogue on whatever night they do, Rogue nights or whatever. And Scott comes up to me and he was like, "Hey, what's up, man? You around or whatever?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Who are you playing with?" I was like, "I'm playing with Rogue." He was like, "Oh, well, dude, I'm gonna hook you up with Team Camo." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I really didn't know what it was.
And Scott who?
Scott Oswald.
Oswald, okay.
So anyways, he gave me the invite to Team Camo, and all Team Camo is a bunch of guys in the relatively age range of 30 to 50, I guess.
30 to 50 is fair.
And it's kind of a group chat, but a number of them live in Lawrence, a lot of them live in Kansas City, and we just kind of pick local courses, you know, so many in the area.
Yeah.
And we generally, it was a Thursday night, we'll meet up and we always play doubles. And then at the end of the year, we have like the bag tag challenge is also called the Camo Cup. We have a friend named Ryan Cecil. He lives in, by the wetlands of southern Lawrence. He's got property.
He's got a property course.
And he's got a course called Bushwood, Caddyshack reference, and it's 27, full bush is 27 holes.
That's right.
And so we make it a camp out weekend.
Right.
And you do singles, doubles, and triples. You do one course that's not at his house, and then you do 2 rounds at his house. It's a very challenging wooded course.
Wow.
Yes.
So that's Team Camo. We have our own tags, and it's just a bunch of homies that just playing the summer seasons 1 night a week.
Love it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
A lot of Glow League as well is when I kind of came into the mix as well. So a regular Thursday.
That's where I met Robbo.
Yeah, Thursday night traveling Glow League.
Okay.
So yeah, they would go, pick out just great courses at the right time of year where you're pretty much glowing up your discs for 15 out of 18 holes. And yeah, it gets pretty wild by the end of it. But for anyone who enjoys a good glow round,
I've only played a couple times.
Okay.
I'm not totally sold on it, but
You're not-
a lot of
Okay,
people
what-
are very
You talking
sold
about
on
Glow?
it. Huh?
You talking about Glow?
Glow.
yeah.
Glow in San Francisco is awesome because it doesn't get cold. Like you're 55 degrees at night,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it glows year round.
Yeah.
Kansas, obviously, when it's wintertime, you're not playing Glow.
Right.
It also doesn't snow there.
Yeah.
But
A couple
when-
factors here. Yeah.
When you played Camo, you were aware of the $20 ace.
I don't know.
I think everyone should do this, and I actually took it from San Francisco. Like me and my buddies that play together a lot, we do lifetime $20 aces. So if I'm playing with you and you ace, I owe you $20. Right? It's lifetime.
It's a big payday
Yeah.
if you hit an ace. And
So we incorporate that into Camo that everybody's in on lifetime aces.
Okay.
So in Camo, even if you're not on the card, but it happens in a Camo round and you ace, $20 from every person.
Damn.
And it doesn't really happen that often, but when it does,
Yeah.
I think there was like 40 people in
yeah.
the game. Yeah.
Somebody, Brandon Melton hit a Camo Cup ace and won Camo Cup that year. I think he had almost $1,000. Which good for him.
which is great for unsanctioned.
Yeah, it's a pretty good big payday.
Yeah.
He's buying the first belt that breaks on the discotheque.
Yeah, I doubt he will, but he cleaned up that night.
That's it. It's a good payday.
Well, I want to talk about the pro shop. This is new to me. You brought in a basket,
I did. I travel with basically
Yeah.
wherever I go. This is
gifted us a basket.
to the pod.
Holy
Thank you for having
shit.
us.
So
We'll
cool.
find a spot to hang it. Basically,
will.
it is designed to be hung. So these, a prototype of sorts here. But I like it when it's elevated and
Yeah.
you can get it spinning, you can get it swinging,
Yes.
and these ones catch. They catch
It
well.
looks
So these
it
are.
is legit. It's
It's got some weight
legit.
to it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, you
but
put it up here if you want.
Yeah, why not?
Center table.
Bring it
We'll
up,
talk about
bring it up
this
in
thing.
there.
Yeah, we wanted to hang it from the ceiling, but
Yeah,
it's
well,
like
we
this
will. I think we'll.
this is gonna
by
tear
the end
it
of the
up.
night, we'll get it up.
Should make it the next chandelier.
There you go.
But yeah, this is my my version of turning up to a party with a six-pack, basically.
There you go.
So, operating in the same way that Discotheque's operating in the yard game. In the arcade game space. The pro shop's in the yard game space. So
Okay.
We're the eventual goal would be have something like this hanging in every backyard in the Midwest. In Australia, wherever the world, we can go all the way over. But yeah, this is a custom prototype that is going to end up here, and you've got 3 of each color, and we're going to treat it like a dartboard, basically. So
okay.
you got 2 players with 3 discs at a pop, and you want to be sinking baskets, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, again, designed to be hung indoors or outdoors. I think a hanging basket's pretty cool.
Yeah. What's the scoring method here?
Scoring method is we're going to say we're going to do 6 rounds essentially,
Okay.
and it's whoever you're going to accrue points. So if
Yep.
you land a basket, you're going to put a point to your name basically.
Yep.
And 6 rounds, and you can win by the round. You could win by total
Yep.
shots. Depends how good you get it. We're gonna rig it up at some point and get you
Okay.
guys
Yeah.
throwing. But
Okay.
yeah,
We'll figure this out. We'll
we're
play a
gonna,
little
we're gonna
bit before
figure
you
it
guys
out.
go.
We're figuring it out.
Yeah.
But essentially, I kind of started a custom disc shop back in 2020.
Okay.
As when COVID kicked in, and we were trying to find ways to entertain ourselves and build a business.
Yeah.
And started out in the custom disc golf kind of game, catering to the local player who wanted to fill a spot in their bag with a cool custom disc.
Yeah.
And I thought as we rode the wave of all things COVID and disc golf and things got really exciting, I set up, I think it started with a mini order from Gateway over in St. Louis, essentially. And they did 2 different minis that kind of joined together, and they weren't the best flyers, but that was the first custom run that I did.
Sure.
You got to start somewhere, so we started with the smallest, cheapest disc, and then from there I put in a custom order with Dynamic, essentially, set up the retail account there, ordered some baskets.
Can you explain how that happened to somebody that was just starting out? Like, what was your minimum run?
50 to 100. So something like a mini, you can get away with a 50 unit order. If you're dealing with one of the big boys, they're going to want 100 minimum to put your stamp on their good plastic, essentially. The ones that we've got here are a Cosmo, essentially. So what I would believe is the best flying mini putter out there.
Yeah, just so, I mean, no one's here, but these aren't like normal minis. These are the plastic
really
is soft.
well-engineered minis made out of Indiana, Zing. So these are the guys that do the can toppers you've probably seen.
But like they're like, here's a grip mini, like rubber grip mini. They're a little bit bigger.
They've got some good depth to them. So there's some pretty unreal glide, basically.
Really good depth to them. Yeah, like I feel like
what's
you
the
can really
turn?
throw these.
It's reasonable. Okay. I would say if there was one mini that I would rip off the tee and get maximum distance, it would be the Cosmo.
It's the Pro Shop
The
Cosmo.
Pro Shop Cosmo.
Yeah,
exactly.
specifically.
So yeah, look, working as a custom operator, set up retail accounts with everybody you want to have a retail account with. So Dynamic Discs, Discraft, Innova. Trying to think who else. Lone Star Discs is another one that I was kind of getting runs of 50 to 100 custom discs made.
Not just minis.
Not just minis. So predominantly big boy discs, basically. So I was trying to build an offering that would cover every slot in your bag. So the best 13-speed driver, the best 12-speed driver, the best mid-range.
Buzz.
All the buzz. Another run of buzzes done in 2020. Got 50 zones done in 2020. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try and gather what I think would be really, popular discs out there to operate as a sole kind of provider of discs and get on the Pro Tour, basically.
Okay.
So, obsessed with disc golf, want to be on the Pro Tour, decided to pull together the custom shop, Babylon Pro Shop, in 2020. The first event was Dynamic Discs Open in 2021. So they do a block party down there in Emporia.
Definitely.
I'm sure you've been
there.
You've been
Played
there
there,
multiple
been there,
times.
yep.
Okay, so this is when it was Dynamic Discs Open. I think
That was the first year of Pro Tour?
No,
Well, I mean, GBO, that was when GBO changed,
I think
right?
that was around the transition year between GBO to DDO. But there was a block party happening and booked my spot and went out there and vended for the first time in 2021. This is just kind of post-COVID. Everyone's coming out of the lockdown kind of era. And sold a few custom discs, and then over the years of hitting spots, have merged into the current iteration of really focusing on the children.
Yeah, it's for the kids.
For the children. So
these are different. Than
they are different. So these are a 15 centimeter junior disc. You might call them, some people call them a mini. This is a mini Buzz, actually.
But what are they in inches?
15 centimeters, which is illegal. You can mark your lie with SPDGA legally.
Okay.
Which is great, I think, if you're someone like me who is not if you're taking a bigger run up at your lie, I want as like bigger target
On a
as possible.
putt, especially.
Just to plant my foot on an approach.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you can use it as a marker, but they fly great and they are caught well as well. So also working on a junior size basket, which can catch these ones perfectly.
Okay.
By that, you mean just a little bigger than this setup?
They're
here?
exactly the same structure, but we're in between this and a full size basket. So a 39-inch basket.
Okay.
Hanging pressure.
Maybe that one will just get accepted as the disc golf.
Yeah, well,
Maybe this will go in
cutting
the discotheque at home.
potentially, yeah.
We'll shrink everything.
We'll shrink it down. I think that
Junior
could be a junior
Yeah,
tech.
check
You can
Jeez.
buy a Papa Shop for like your house,
For the kid,
right? The smaller,
for
like
children.
I do actually think if you made everything smaller and you use I think cloth, figure out a way to shake the cloth to you, they could probably come back.
yeah.
Getting ahead of ourselves. The wheels are turning.
No, you got to cater to the children.
I do like the sound of this.
It catches great, which is the biggest factor.
So you probably had to
100%
like
right
get
now.
different chains or like figure out the right chain.
I think
speeds.
when we get to the final version,
Yeah.
you've got to put your mark on it with a chain configuration.
Yeah.
So you can move, elements of it where it's, it might catch extra special around the middle here. But we're working on it. This is an early prototype.
I've also seen you do them with lights, right?
Yeah, lights and music basically as well. So solar lights is a big part of something that can live on the unit, powered by solar, and whenever it hits nightfall, bang, it's lit up in all varieties.
Because
I've
it's
got a
living
light
on your
vehicle.
tree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what you want
And then
in
being
your
able to
backyard.
treat this as like the party speaker, so you can Bluetooth into a speaker and it's the one-stop party shop. And for the disc golf dorks out there who like to have something. So yeah, no, I'm excited to, obviously the Discotheque's heading out there on the tour, and in Iowa is the plan.
That's the next stop.
And wherever he goes, I'll follow closely behind, and hopefully be doing a bit of vending. My son is my co-vendor out there as well.
Okay.
So he did his first event at the 2021 Junior Worlds block party down in Emporia.
Okay.
So we're coming up to the 4-year anniversary of the Junior Worlds, heading back to Emporia, and we'll be there. Mm-hmm. You got the invite, didn't you?
I've got the invite. We're in the works.
All right, so yeah, why don't you tell us more about, like, as you think about what's next for Discotheque, like, where are you wanting to take it? You mentioned going to more Disc Golf Pro Tour stops. What else?
Yeah. So KC Wide Open was a block party event. While I was there, I have a buddy, Sean Jack. He works for Disc Golf Pro Tour. I had posted in my other chat I'm with my San Francisco buddies. When I got that patent approved, I showed them, like, hey, I can show you this invention now or whatever. And he texted me separately. He was like, oh, wow. He was like, Kansas City's a hotbed of disc tech, or disc technology. He was like, tech disc and how you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, thanks, yeah. Anyways, he was like, that's really cool, man. Congratulations or whatever. So the next day when we were at KC Wide Open, somebody that had like the DGPT logo on their polo come over and he was like, hey, my name's Titanic. He was like, Sean Jack told me I should come over and film it. Like, do I have permission to film? And I was like, yeah, of course you do. It happened to be the same time Barela walked up, right? So that video you see, he filmed. So thank you, Sean Jack, for sending him my way. But so he came over, did that filming. Like everything was so new. Like I was just so happy that it worked out, that people wanted to play it, that the pricing seemed to be good for everybody and all that. So anyways, then the next day it was kind of like, well, what's next? And listen, like I towed this in a Subaru Outback in a trailer. Robbo helped me buy the trailer. That was kind of a sketchy purchase. It's worked out good.
Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, of course. It all comes back to that. And then, we figure out how we're going to Lego this thing in, and we've got that all figured out. But so it's not something I really want to take that far, right? Because I should have a truck. But Des Moines, Iowa isn't as far away as I thought it was. It's probably with my trailer like 3 hours away. Right. But so I was like thinking Iowa would be cool because what's neat is, you got the KC Wide Open, then they do the West Coast swing. But so you have a pretty good space of time in between Wide Open and then a location that's back in the Midwest. Pardon me. So Iowa was an idea. Well, after the cool success of Discotheque, I was like, okay, you know what? Let's figure out who the TD is of Iowa. Well, guess what? It's Titanic, right? And like hopefully I'm saying his last name right. It's either Tanat or Tanit. But so anyways, I'd already kind of become his Facebook friend, so I texted him and I was like, hey, I hear you're the TD for Iowa, or now it's called the Discmania Challenge. And he was like, yeah, I am. And I was like, well, what do you think about Discotheque coming? And he was like, yeah, man. Let's do it. So anyway, so we are confirmed to do the Discmania Challenge. Now, they don't do a block party at that event, so I will be on site. Ooh. I'm only doing one day because otherwise I would have to sleep on the course because I don't want to put it back in the trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because it's
you don't want to set it up
so hard to get it in and out. Yeah, it's like if I had to do a breakdown and setup every day, well, he'll be there.
Right. Well, this will be your first full day on the Pro Tour.
It'll be the first full day. It'll be a long day.
It's going to get some attention.
Yeah. So we're going to do that. I believe it's the Saturday of that tournament. I think it's the 27th. It might be the 28th.
28th. I think we'll be there on the Saturday, the 28th.
We'll be there for the Saturday of the Discmania Challenge. So I imagine we'll be operating all day.
Yeah.
I'm going to live stream it if the internet works for me. And so my goal with that is hopefully these MPO and FPO pros, when they get done, since I'm on the course, want to come play, maybe compete with each other.
And get on that top scorer.
Well, and I want to give Brent a shout out. So we played it the other day.
I hear.
And these guys had both never played it. And you each got to play 3 or 4, maybe max. Yeah. And nobody's really that ready for it the first time they throw it.
No.
Which is why at the Wide Open, the pricing was $3 for one game or 2 for 5. 85% of the ticket sales were 2 for 5. And I would let you play the 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Because you play it, and then you're like, I could do better.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's nice to just go right back.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But so I got to give Bren some love. Your last game, you started, I think, with maybe 400 or 500 hits in a row, something like that.
Something.
It was. I was pretty impressed, and I'm watching his score on that front monitor, and like I don't want to say anything, but I'm like, oh, this could be an initials, right? Unfortunately, I don't think you got anything in double points.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's all right.
Yeah.
There'll be another
Well,
attempt.
I was rooting for you, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, just hit something because you're going for the 500.
I was just trying to hit 500s and stuff.
I get
Yeah.
it. And you did get the bonus, which you had got to get the bonus,
Yeah,
but
I did pay attention to that part, but that's about it.
yeah, what sucks is, it holds 10 scores. And he tied the last score, but if you don't supplant it,
get
they don't
there.
ask for the initials. The point I'm bringing up is I'm going to bring those top 10 scores. They aren't getting deleted. So those scores are going to travel with the game, and you can try to beat Landon Brooks out of Maine, I believe, MVP player. I think he won Junior Worlds back-to-back, maybe? He's a good player. He's only like 15. He's like one of the youngest. Did you play with him at Wide Open?
No.
Okay.
I think so.
He's got 5 of the top 10 scores. He played a lot of games. But so he's at the top, and then there's AB and Own. Anyways, people will get a chance to try to beat that score.
Okay.
So we're keeping those on.
Yeah.
And then actually, can I just speak to the viral nature of what happened?
Talk about whatever you want.
Okay.
Dude.
He's got stories to tell. Don't worry.
I'm almost out of them, guys.
Yeah.
So this was kind of cool and caught me off guard. I'll be honest, I thought I was onto something pretty neat. And I thought I would go what I'm calling disc golf viral. And I guess to me, in my head, disc golf viral is like 300,000 views or interactions. 'Cause
Probably.
I mean, I think you're capturing a fair amount of the disc golf community with that. Obviously, there's way bigger community, but just to capture that would be cool. So it's interesting. So I posted into the Kansas City Disc Golf Club, which is how my fabricators found me, and that's before it hit the broad internet. I don't really do much. I look at Facebook a lot, but I don't post anything. So I'm like by no means a creator or an influencer, right? Well, at the Wide Open, somebody came up to me and they were like, "Hey, this post isn't shareable to the public," and I'm like, "Yeah, it should be or whatever." I was like, "Hey, Harry, take my phone and do it." So he did that, right? So I don't know what's going on. I'm like running the game. My arcade guy actually.
Okay.
So he made it shareable.
He was on site.
He was on site.
For the launch.
Yeah,
To make sure that the arcade tech was.
Yeah. So he made it shareable, and like I'm not paying any attention to any of it, right? And that's late Saturday night. And then, because Dick Parker also told me, he was like, "You need to make this shareable," and I thought I had. Anyways, so the next day, I'm like just super pleased with how everything went, and I'm like, "Oh, you know what? The Barela video had been released," and I was like, "I'm gonna put this on Reddit," And so I have a Reddit account that I never use, but so I put it on Reddit, and it's funny. Like my username, I guess it changed, and it was like a stock one they give you, so it was like a bunch of weird numbers. I thought somebody else had posted my video and was getting all the love, and then I realized it was actually me. But anyway, so I posted the Barela video on Reddit, and this was like the last round of the Wide Open, and that by the end of the tournament got to I think like 50 or 60,000 interactions, and I was like, "Oh, this is crazy, right? This is amazing." Okay, so then, I'm in cloud nine for that. Right before I go to bed that night, I get like notified or something that somebody else, because I don't really have that many followers, that somebody else has taken my driveway video and posted and shared it, and they have a lot of followers, right? So now it's getting shared. But anyways, what I'm getting at is, I think I saw that it was at 177,000 views, and I was like, "Oh wow!"
Yeah.
End of the night though, it's like I don't think much of it. I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning, and that same video now is at 670,000 views, and I'm like, "Oh, well, this is kind of serious,
Yeah.
So I tell my wife, I'm like, "Hey, look what's going on, And like we started having a conversation. We talked for about an hour, and by the time we got done talking, it was close to 900,000. And I'm like, we probably might hit 1 million by lunch. And by lunch we did, right? So I came home to be like, "Hey, we hit 1 million." And she goes, "Well, our accountant saw it on his own and he said, 'Is this Brad's arcade game?'"
What?
And then so we told our patent attorney about it too. Well, come to find out that the video that they had seen was a separate post from Disc Golf Dude, and it was at 1.5 million. And now my video was at like 1.3 million. And so when I realized I was at 1 million, I was really at like almost 3.
He's gone viral.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly viral. But so, like, I think current today, and that all happens really fast and then it starts to die. And I haven't really posted much content since then because I'm waiting for another event. But I think I'm around 6 million views across all platforms.
I think it's like you have a really like interesting, novel thing that like anybody in disc golf, like you like to see and support those like novel things that are in disc golf. And so, yeah, I think it's natural that it got that traction. And I think people will be super excited to like try it out if you're into going to the, Des Moines for the Discmania Challenge, like go check it out.
Definitely want to try it out.
Yeah. Cause like it's a unique experience, like to just like get to play it. And like, it has that, like, I think like why so many of us love disc golf is because you have that, like, you see it and it's like you get it in the slot, or you like get that great throw and you want a little bit more. And it's like you get that constant improvement. And I think that's like what your game has kind of captured, is that with putting, you're like, okay, I need to get a little flatter, or like I can kind of like figure out, like you were showing us some tricks of like kind of ricocheting off the side, and you kind of like figure out those little things. It's like, oh, I can't really get the left slot.
Yeah, because I'm not left-handed.
Yeah. So yeah, I think like it makes sense.
Well, what's cool too, and I appreciate you saying that. Something that I always thought in the beginning, I was like, if you walked into an arcade, and even if you don't know what disc golf is, and I'm thinking this 10 years ago, so my timing is pretty good because obviously since COVID, the sport, has. I remember 10 years ago, I would ask people if they knew what disc golf was, and the answer wasn't always yes. I'd explain what the basket was, right? There's almost no one I ask today, regardless of walk of life they are, or even age. They know what it is now, and that's a big difference from 10 years ago. But I was always thinking, if you walked into an arcade and heard those chains, it doesn't matter if you know what they are, you're going to investigate it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
what's that noise?
And I think that's the best sound effect. I mean, Contra's great, but the best sound effect
For sure.
is the chains.
Yeah.
And they're kind of
Every time I played, the first thing I wanted to do was like, I'm first going to go for the chains, and then I can move on from there. But I'm going to make that first putt.
the natural sound effects. Yes. And I'll be honest, like I actually mentioned this to Jeremy Colling, and I hope he took it the right way, but I was like, I actually think my game could be, to grow disc golf, more important than a sponsored player. And I'm not trying to be cocky when I say that, but Simon fans are for people that are already into disc golf, right? I think I might be bringing something. Let's say that things go amazing and it's in a Dave and Buster's. Those are going to be a lot of people is going to be the first time they've ever one held a frisbee or two putted with it.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's an amazing way to grow the sport. And interesting enough, at the Wide Open, the first ever paying customer was not a disc golfer. Like he'd never thrown a putter in his life.
What the heck was he doing there?
Well, he didn't play that well.
But historic downtown Liberty.
I don't really know what he was doing there, to be honest.
This is block party.
Yeah, we were just block partying. We weren't at the event, The block party was happening downtown, and that's cool, but it was separated from the disc golf.
What was he doing
Massive.
I mean, he scored 600, whatever, had a great time. He was our first ever customer.
Hey, I think my first round was 700. So
Yeah.
I was equal to someone who's never thrown a disc before.
But I do love
I quickly improved.
Yeah, well,
He gave you multiple turns.
I could tell that you were gonna be
Barela
good.
had one, you know what I mean?
I had three.
yeah. But yeah, I actually do think it could be a really good tool
I
to
think
have
you're right.
people play for the first time.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, and I think like it's something that like envisioning it at like these arcade bars, which like are really pretty popular now. Like
Yeah.
we have up down here in Kansas City. There's probably
Main
in every
event,
major
yeah.
city there's like some sort of one. And I'm just like recalling like going into these arcade bars, and I love to play the most unique like games, the physical ones especially. And I remember doing a beer pong one, or like this where you had to tap a ping pong ball in like a certain pattern. And it's like it's so fun, that combination of like physical skill. So like I think it'll stand out in that environment if you can get it there and like get some traction there. Like I think that'd be
And like Papa Shot's been around forever.
It's
So
skee-ball,
we're
and
probably kind of ready for a new game.
And they're always still there.
Yeah.
Like if you go into Dave Buster's right now, I guarantee you there's a skee ball and there's a Papa Shot.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's just there. My kids love to go there.
Room for a discotheque.
It's a big floor space, but yes, if you want it, there's room for a discotheque. So the footprint of discotheque is quite large, and something that I learned along the way that I didn't know about is a thing called the skee ball rule.
Okay.
So skee ball is pretty old. I feel like it started New Jersey boardwalk stuff, East Coast, but the skee ball rule is such. A general skee ball is about 10 foot in length. Width for arcade, we're talking about arcade owners. Width doesn't really seem to matter apparently, but length does, right? Because like they want to design their layout for things to be uniform.
You gotta have hallway, yeah.
And skee ball has stood enough of the test of time to be the exception, which is why it's called the skee ball rule. But here's what I'm getting at. They don't want anything longer than skee ball. So Papa Shot generally conforms to the skee ball rule so that it doesn't jet out further than skee ball. Now, I'm breaking that rule because it's a disc. It needs to be thrown a little further. Maybe like a Chuck E. Cheese version is shorter. I don't know. We're not there yet.
Do we know what the putt length is?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're sitting behind the bin, you're like 14.
Yeah, that's where I stepped off.
Yeah, he wanted a little further back.
Back out here a little bit. Just you want.
He just said 14 feet, and I just stepped it off. I was like, yeah, it's about 14 feet.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close to that. I mean, I know the belt length is 13.6, but there's more behind that. But so anyways, I am breaking the skee ball rule. I also feel like it's unique enough. If you want to devote the space to it, you can. Width-wise, it's like 50 inches wide. That's probably not an issue.
What is the length of the skee ball? What's the skee ball
Well,
rule?
they vary from 10 to 13 feet. The skee ball rule, I think, is based on 11 feet and in.
Okay.
So you know what I need? I need the center of your room. I need your showcase. Dave & Buster's does have longer games.
It would be interesting to just try it at 12 feet.
True, and I'm thinking about the last section.
Thinking of that new person that's never played or thrown a frisbee, it's not going to make it. It might not make a difference to them.
Probably not.
That's true.
For us, like it's a little weird. This feels like tap-ins, but it's not because they're tiny little slots.
No, and it's a marksman.
hard.
You know, it's not regulation basket.
The marksman's easy. It's the friggin' slots.
Yeah,
that are
slots.
hard,
So
bro.
that's why they're scored accordingly.
That's what I'm saying.
everybody
Like,
wants
12
to
feet,
hit the
14
slot.
feet. It's going to be
Well,
tough.
like, is the Papa Shot like a smaller rim?
No, it's regulation, I'm pretty sure.
They're both-
But the balls are smaller,
They have
aren't they?
smaller balls.
They have.
Well, there's two kinds, yeah.
There's the kid ones that my kids can play, and then they literally have Papa Shots that are made for grown-ups. So it's like full-size ball, 10 feet high,
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
and they're usually both sets are in Dave & Buster's and stuff. Yeah.
true. Yeah, and I've even thinking about like, there's actually more Chuck E. Cheese's than Dave & Buster's, but that would just be maybe a shorter last section and a shorter belt, right? And, it could be junior disc, because, I mean, there's more ideas than what you see in the prototype. Like the patent holds more ideas, like more slots, middle slots, hyzer angled or just circles, so it can take any angle. There's different game modes. There's things that I planned for, and like it's funny, the internet had a lot of advice for me.
A lot of opinions.
And I like that. It's just like I have thought about these things, but like I just wanted proof of concept to get it out there.
Yeah, you can listen to them. You don't have to do them.
But like
Taking
them
all
on.
the feedback on.
yeah. I mean,
Even the best of friends have had the harshest of feedback.
man, the Camo Cub, I got so many experts that showed up, but there are
the
definitely
disc golf arcade experts.
Yeah, it turns out that there were a bunch, but there is options to do kind of other things. But some of the greatest compliments I've gotten is, oh, I can't believe no one thought of this before. And, maybe someone did think of it and didn't do it, but simple is good.
Yes.
And simple is good on almost anything. So I like that it's simple and that people are like, oh wow, yeah. I mean, like it doesn't need a whole lot of explanation. So that's pretty cool.
No, that's great. For sure. For sure. You mentioned my fabricator reached out to me. You're getting this, you're kind of in the realms right now of getting it fabricated. What does this mean and how do they find you? And I don't know if you want to say who it is or whatnot.
Sure, no problem. So my fabricator, this is how it happened. I noticed this message the night after the Wide Open when like kind of life was for me at a whirlwind. I was like, oh wow, this is crazy. And Matt Basinger owns a company called Swellspark. They do all the Blade and Timbers, breakout rooms, and Seekers Lounge in Kansas City. But they're actually, if you go to their website, they're nationwide. Like they have locations in Hawaii and Oregon, all over. But so he reached out to me on Facebook Messenger because he saw the post I put in Kansas City Disc Golf Group. And it's funny because when I read this, I thought, like, oh, wait, we went viral. He saw it. He actually reached out to me when it was just a Kansas City Disc Golf post because he's in the Kansas City Disc Golf Group. He does disc golf. And he messaged me and he was like, hey, this is awesome. We could build this for you. Like, he realized it was a prototype. And so I was like, oh, all right, cool. Because, like, I've actually been contacted with people from Finland and China or whatever. But then when I went back and looked at everything, I was like, oh, this is actually a local guy. Anyway, so we got into contact. And that's where it is right now. It's in their lobby. Currently, they are going to make a couple upgrades to the Charm one that you've seen on video. And it's the one I'll be taking out the rest of the summer. But the goal is, after they upgrade that slightly and make it work a little bit better, maybe a little bit safer, is for them to make a from-scratch in-house professional model. I don't know how long this is going to take. I'm hoping maybe by the fall we have the first working model. The plan now, everything can change, but the plan now is to get that one built and hopefully hop it around Kansas City bars that can support this game and try to hop them around like maybe 10 miles from the last place so that new audiences that live nearby can come check it out. You know, charge for it, split money with the people that own these businesses, get data, see what we need to tweak. And hopefully after we get all that done, try to find a way to get them into actual production. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and they want to know, when can I buy one? How much is it going to be? And to be honest, I don't know.
Yeah.
I love the you know, attention that I've gotten from it and that people want one. I have, I think, about 100 people on a wait list, and I've told them I don't know what it's going to cost, and they still want to be on a wait list. A lot of disc golf clubs like Tennessee, Arkansas, I mean, people from China, people from Finland, like messaging me. We do have a website. It's like, it's crude. I did it myself. We're going to upgrade it, but it's discotech.biz. You can actually email me on that. We can respond to you that way. It's going to be all changed. It's all kind of happened overnight. But so I don't know where we're really going to head, but the plan is to make one that wasn't made in a basement, wasn't made with a circular saw.
Come on, bro. It's just perfect.
Yeah. Well, I'm always want to keep the original, the charm one.
Dude, get rid of that.
No, that's my relic.
Yeah.
When these are everywhere, all over the
That's
place,
the
and you have the
original
original,
one, too.
you'll be like, listen, if anybody wants this for $1 million, you can
That's when I
have
go
it.
back to the contra music.
Yeah.
You play that
When it's just in my house, the contra music comes.
Yeah, when it's happening in your own basement, you're cool.
Yeah.
There's like some arcade bars in Finland, probably. I mean,
They have a fever for it.
kids.
I'd like to
There's so many kids in Finland.
Get it over to the World Disc Golf Expo in July in Tallinn, Estonia.
My goodness.
Yeah,
I think there's a gap in the
ship it on
schedule.
over.
Maybe a little tight timeline for you there.
Yeah, it could be. Could be.
But I mean, look
Turn
what you
this
did
down
for
to,
Kansas City Wide
carry
Open.
on.
Yeah, you know, don't think so. But I'm trying to shave the weight off of 1,000 pounds.
Least.
Well, at least your fabricators are.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
And I'm excited to see what they do. They're working on the upgrades of the current one before any of my next events come up. And then they'll start building the real guy. And, you know, they can actually house it and operate it like some of the Blade and Timbers around town. And we could hop it around some of those locations. So I'm excited about the partnership. Matt Basinger is the owner. He's a Kansas City Disc Golf Club. Well, at least he's in the group. He might be a member. And there's other guys that work there that are kind of disc golf enthusiasts. So it's kind of I like the local aspect, and they're really cool people.
Yeah, I love the Kansas City, like more Kansas City disc golf connections. I mean, it just kind of keeps happening. It's really cool.
They joked about, we'll put it in our lobby, and I thought they were joking, and you guys know they did put it in our lobby.
It's a great spot for it right
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It was funny to just kind of see it right there. I pulled into the parking lot, got out of the car, and I just hear chains. And I'm like, this is it.
I must be
found
at the
it.
right place.
I found
This
it.
must be the place.
And then I look through the window and somebody's in there putting. And I'm like, is that Brad? I'm like, I don't know.
Is this heaven?
Is this the guy?
No, it's Wyandotte.
Yeah. But it was Will, right? Will?
Yeah, Will. Will
was
Goff is
super
the
cool.
lead guy on the operation.
He's
Yeah.
taken to the game.
Yeah, man. I think he's going to hit the course soon.
Well, I think that was
That
an
goes,
interesting
sorry,
story.
that goes right to what you just said. Because you said he never played disc
He'd
golf
never
ever.
been thrown.
Yeah.
And now he's playing it. He gets there at 6 a.m. and he says he usually gets a round or two in before he starts playing.
Yeah.
And then you just said he's about to head to a course. It's like,
Yeah.
you're
We'll
not
grow in the
wrong
sport.
right there.
Yeah.
And like he was pretty good at putting, like because the game kind of forces you to like get a decent putt that's like it has enough spin to like get in the slots. So it kind of does encourage like
Yeah.
it's a good way to get into it if
Yeah. My one feedback is funny is like you can get up close, but like for anybody pitch putting style,
Yeah.
like I had to back up another 2 or 3
Yeah, because you're a
feet.
spinner. Your putts had some pretty good Well, I don't know. You
I'm
think you're-
kind of a
come low.
tweener, but I like to bring it down to my knees,
Yeah.
and I'm already 5'7", so it's like I had to back up so I wasn't chasing the screen
almost for clearance, too.
clearance.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing where like it's almost like you could bring the screen down even further, whereas maybe even a little flatter.
And I've thought about
or
that
to the
because
side.
for short kids, or just for little kids,
Yes.
there's a height clearance issue to begin with. So we're going to look into tweaking that, too.
But I'm not an expert, and that's just one feedback.
I'm not either.
We've all got opinions.
Look,
don't
dude,
worry.
you can do whatever you want with it.
I'm not either.
Bad.
Whatever's the most universal. is the
My
best
kids
for
were
me.
playing it from halfway.
Yeah, we
That's- this.
Some little kids like it was like
Junior
just get up
tech.
closer.
It's
You
gonna
know.
be the junior tech for the Chuck E. Cheese.
It's like once I hear this 100 times, then we'll implement it.
Sure. I mean, I love feedback because this is all new.
If the comments are loud enough, and there'll be more comments, and there'll be more opinions.
Oh yeah,
But,
I welcome them.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're sharpening the tech.
Are you sad that it lives at the fabrication place now instead of in
I
your
mean, you know,
basement?
I've talked to him about this.
I mean, to be honest, slightly, and it's funny. Once we took it out of my basement, so when we built it in the basement, I never knew how big it was going to get. But there's this header in my basement, and so the whole time I was building it, the 500s were even harder because there was a header in the middle of the game that you had to go nose up to get under it, but then like to dive in, right? And so we were always wondering, like, oh, will this be easier when this header's gone? And it is slightly, but not much.
Yeah.
But anyways, he was with me to get it out of my basement, which we had to chop off all the wheels just to get it under that header. So what I'm getting at is once we got it out of the basement, I knew it was never going back.
Never again. We released it to the wild.
But I'm
Robert,
happy.
what can we do about that, though?
Well-
we brought you on board to help with
Yeah, we're going to
transportation.
figure it out. As I said, when we were like literally pulling it underneath a water pipe, I was like, something's going to break.
Yeah.
To get this out of here, we were like 3 hours in. I was like, something's going to break.
You're like, we're good,
And I was
guys.
like, this is what I'm going to allow to break. And it was
Yeah.
a quick fix. But yeah, it was either the water pipe or the front facade
our
of the machine.
spirits.
Yeah, or our spirits at this point. But we broke the front facade of the machine, and then you fixed it. You
fixed it?
Cup,
Yeah.
and it was good to go a week later. And it's had 2 visits out of its home now, and there's going to be a few more.
3, actually.
Yeah, 3.
Well, but to answer your question, yeah, it is kind of sad that I can't play it, but the other choice was it living in the trailer. So at least it's living inside a place with a security system. And they did say,
It's getting reps, basically.
they did say
So
you can come
that's-
play it whenever you want, but I'm not trying to abuse that. So I went up there with you guys. I think I've been up there only one time otherwise.
They do a happy hour on Thursdays.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Before
last 30
it
minutes.
moves on to its next
You're gonna have to
destination.
check the logs, like see if they've been playing it.
I told them, I was like, so here's this thing, guys. I've got access how many games you've played. It's $3 a game.
You're going to show up and it's just going to be Will.
I'm going to be like, the fabricator bill is not what you guys thought it was. Looking like you owe me some money.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have 4 kids, and my 2 youngest love playing disc golf with me. We have, I just got a basket in my basement. They gave it to me for my birthday, but we like play par 4s in the basement, and stuff like that with minis and stuff.
Cool.
And like, thank you for that. They're gonna love because they come up here every now and again, and we putt in the warehouse. But this will be even more fun if we can find a place to hang it.
We're gonna hang it. We'll work on some structural integrity and we'll find a safe space. It's a factor, that I've had to consider basically.
Yeah, it's probably going to be part of this podcast set forever.
Yeah,
but
there. And if you get fidgety, you need to hear that Pavlov's bell basically at any given time just to break up the mood.
no doubt.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is I want them to play your game, dude. They're
Yeah,
gonna
I'd love that too.
it. They're gonna.
How old are they?
Well, yeah. So they're.
youngest.
Was that
Your youngest.
11 and 7?
Oh, see, and here's what's funny about the wide open or just kids in general. I've got a couple nephews, and they were the first kids to play it. And like they hadn't thrown a frisbee. And I don't know if you guys, well, you probably do. You notice how young kids just go into a forehand?
Yeah,
like
it's
naturally, like that's how they're going to throw it. I don't really think it's that forehand conducive. Maybe I'm wrong, but anyways, I realize it's too far. That's why I want a different maybe length for kids. But I just had them walk up and play it shorter. Well, it's funny, right? So I'm just kind of assuming that maybe 11 is probably the age for people to play the version that you guys have played. So we're at the wide open, and the first what I'd say young kid played. He was with his dad. Now, got to remember we're at a disc golf event, right? And I probably should have thought of this. But so anyways, I go up to his dad and I'm like, hey, so it may be a little far for kids. If you want, he can walk up and play it closer. You just have to hand him his Frisbees. And the dad kind of shooed me off and he was like, it'll be fine. And I was like, oh yeah, you do whatever you want. I'm just letting you know. And so I start to back away and the timer starts, This kid just bangs his first one. I think this kid was like 7, right?
Yeah.
This kid's grown up throwing
Yeah.
Frisbees.
Yeah.
So kids that know how to throw a disc, it's not too far.
No, my kids would have 0 problems
Yeah.
with how distance.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's 7. I mean,
Yeah, because he's throwing a frisbee. Yeah.
Yeah, we play, and Julian can throw like 100 feet.
Yeah.
Good.
So
I was taught a lesson.
Excuses,
I was
no
taught a lesson.
excuses.
no problem.
You're fighting for the same spots on the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Well, they could hit the chains, but the slots would be tough.
Yes.
I mean, the slots
that
are
was-
tough for anyone.
That was part of the design. It's,
Yeah.
like that's really where the skee ball aspect is.
Yeah.
Skee ball, a lot of us go for the corners, right?
Yeah.
They're harder to hit, but they're fun,
Yeah.
But I wanted the basket to be easy.
So like, what's next? What's next?
All right, so here's what we have planned for the Charm Relic, which is the prototype. We are confirmed to be at Discmania Challenge end of June. I've talked with DD about Junior Worlds. That is middle July.
18th of July.
Yes. So I'm expecting that to go through. I've been talking for a local Kansas City, Up Down being on their patio would also be mid-July. That is not confirmed, but I'm confident and hopeful that will happen. That would be for any local people watching. That would be a chance to come play it. I'd love for you guys to come.
Yes, please let everyone know.
For sure.
Let us come support you.
Yes.
That would be great. And then Am Worlds in Columbia.
Sick.
We're going to do as well. So I think it's awesome. It'll end up being 2 Pro Tours, possibly a local event at a retro arcade bar, and then Junior Worlds and Am Worlds.
Nice.
And then hopefully by the end of that run, we have a professionally built disco.
Can't wait to see that.
And what's the first target for the professionally built one?
Those guys, I asked him how quick they could build one. And he was like, well, I mean, it depends on how many people I throw on it. He was like, I could do it in 2 months. I could do it in 3 weeks. He ain't going to do it in 3 weeks. But I'm thinking by the fall,
Yeah.
we might have the professional one done. There is like a big deal expo that happens in Florida. Like, I don't know if this will be ready, but if we are, November, there's a huge expo. I would love to have it there to launch the rest of the future.
Arcade machine.
I mean, this is a great like winter time hit
yeah.
tour thing. So, yeah, and if you like go from 1 to 10,
Yeah.
10 of these things to 100, like
Oh, yeah.
how fast are they gonna be able to crank them out? Is just kind of like what the demand is.
Well, my fabricator told me that they're not the people to make
The
100.
mass.
They're the people to make the first run, right, and get all the specs. So my wife and I will have to figure that out. But my wife and I are not going to start a arcade manufacturing company. We're gonna.
Yeah.
We don't know, but we'll probably try to lean on experts.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, that's what we're hoping for, and I'm on Instagram. It's disc_o_tech. I will update everything on there.
Yeah.
I'm also on Facebook under Discotech. There's a website that's www.discotech.biz. That will get a little more improved, but anytime something's about to happen, I will try to update people on that. So if you want to follow me there, that's a good way to
sure.
find
Yeah.
out.
And we can have all this in the description. And stuff
Sweet.
like that,
Cool.
So people can find you. But what about the pro shop? What's next for the pro shop?
Hey, look, we're going to be heading up with the Discotech for the Discmania Challenge in Iowa. I think we're going to be heading to Idlewild, actually, in Kentucky. Have you boys been
never
out
been
that
to
way?
Idlewild.
Not yet. No.
It's a great stop on the pro tour.
Yes.
Babylon Pro Shop, we popped up there in 2022, right on the 18th green. They've got an amazing fly mart. This is where the disc golf fan zone is heading. So they have the big screen, literally 40 plus vendors essentially, and you're there for the 4 days. A fly mart into 3 days of the tour, and that's going to be the next stop on the tour for me. So we'll do the journey to Kentucky again, and we'll be selling discs and custom baskets out there, and we'll maybe one other pro stop tour, maybe in the Northeast. We'd like to get up there. MVP Open maybe up at Maple Hill.
Yes.
Yeah,
I've been there.
Discotech's interested.
Steve Judge. Check it out.
This is right up his alley. I
that
feel
should
like.
be in their
He's always-
clubhouse.
Yeah, he's always had the.
I'll make you a
games
real
in
one.
there. Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, cool. Been to Maple Hill, great place for sure.
You've played it.
Played it. Yep.
Okay.
I
bucket
played
list.
Vermont Worlds, and then we were like, before we get out of this area, we should go down, play Maple Hill, and then fly out of
Oh,
Boston.
you've played the most recent Vermont World. You played in it. Awesome, man.
Yeah,
Cool.
I was there when Barsby won.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, what is that, 2018?
Gosh, you must have been young then.
Yeah, 2018 World
I
Champ.
don't know, what is that? I'm 39. So
Oh.
Up there.
Yeah.
40.
Found a youth over here.
Yeah, exactly. Quit bragging, bro. Come on.
I dyed my beard for this.
nobody could tell.
Thanks.
Right. You look great.
Leave that in.
Cool. Well, before you go, I got some gifts for you guys.
Oh,
You brought us this amazing gift. Thank you so much.
Hey,
We got some Disco Tech koozies. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. But yes, we like to give some gifts. These gifts are from our support system, our show supporters. So first up, oh man, I got to get my BKS stickers. But we'll start with Grip.
Okay.
We'll start with Grip.
We Grip
So-
gang, don't worry.
Yes, we've got some Grip stickers here.
Thank you.
Here you go. Two different
Yes.
kinds. Right?
Gang.
fantastic.
Gang.
Thank you, man.
Grip's been a sponsor, supporter of the show since episode 0, so we love them so much. Also, got you guys some Grip hats.
Sweet.
These are
rep.
amazing.
Great. Thank you.
These were custom designed by them they're a little bit lower profile. So instead of
Got
it
it.
being kind of pop top up top, they really fit your crown really well. And the black and white is just classic, sick.
We're about that.
That looks great. Thank
Grip
you.
gang. Grip gang.
Yes.
All right.
Ooh, that looks good on
All
you.
right.
right.
Showing off.
Already molded well.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Strong. Strong.
Yeah, they look really good.
Okay. Good.
And then, you guys deal with a lot of putters. So they've got these custom stamped
Okay. We like custom.
Grip challengers. They're not judges, but
fine.
hey, you
I'm
guys
open
can
to
fight
new
over
buttons.
what
He's
color you
open.
want.
Thank you.
You want yellow?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's where we're headed.
Um,
This is great. What do you guys usually putt with? Like the judges?
He's
I
a
guess?
judge.
I'm a
So
judge,
you're a
yeah.
judge guy. So did you feel the advantage of putting judges?
Felt great. Yeah.
yeah, I'm a P2 guy.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah. But other supporters of the show is BKS. We've been drinking it all night. This is,
Fan of the Kolsch.
oh man. Yeah. But local Brookside Brewers, they are incredible. Alex Moss and the whole team over there, they've been supporting the show the whole time. So thank you so much to those guys.
Thanks.
And then also we got Nexus Disc Golf. They support the show. They are the local big dog retailers in Kansas City area. The beauty about these guys is if you shop at their shop, well, they just give back so much to the community. I mean, a lot of the course updates you see around town, Rosedale, Waterworks, things like that. Like, it's those guys. So if you want to support your local disc golf courses and everything like that, shop at Nexus. Pete Cashin, Rich, JT, they're the man.
All the gang.
They're amazing. So, yeah. Thank you guys.
Thanks for having us, man. This has been great.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Hell yeah.
Thanks, fellas.
Cool. All right. See you guys. Thanks. Peace.